My name is Matthew Rickmon. I was originally from California. I moved up to Washington in 2022 and ended up buying a house and getting this job this year. So I am the director of the Washington State Fathers Network, which is a program offered through Kindering. And I give a little bit more information about Kindering and then kind of how my storytelling um, plays into it. So the next slide has the information for um, what Kindering is. For some people who don't know it, Kindering started back in 1962 by 5 parents as a play group for their children with disabilities. Now, as an organization, we serve over 10,000 children and their families each year through therapies. We have physical therapy, occupational, speech, and feeding therapies. There's also special education for children and also family support. So the 4 campuses now, we just opened up our new one in Redmond. There we have the celebration tomorrow. That's how rebuilt the Redmond building is. And our flagship is Bellevue and Bothell and Renton. So the Kindering specializes in outreach for those families who are homeless or housing insecure, immigrants and refugees, those in the kinship or foster care system as well. So there's many uh, different things that the Kindering organization does. For me, I'm slightly out of that in the Fathers Network. Like the Fathers Network, the next slide was great. The Fathers Network is a piece of Kindering, and it has its roots back in 1978, actually at the University of Washington. So it was at the University of Washington's Experimental Education Unit. Due to lack of funding, it transitioned from UW to Marywood School, which is now Kindering Center. And by 1994, by the Department of Health, we were able to create the Washington State Fathers Network as it is now. So that Fathers Network began in Bellevue. The program of which the Fathers Network is doing is the longest running fathers program of its type in the world right now. And so the Fathers Network is specifically finding the voices for the fathers. So we have those 3 areas of focus. We connect men. We say men. I am doing my best to change some outdated language, and we're in the process of working with our inclusion officer to have language more of male identifying individuals instead of men, because the Fathers Network also has a hard tie to the word father being it's only the stepdad or the dad, no one else. So we're working to move away from that kind of stigmatized language. So the Fathers Network works with fathers of children with any kind of special health care needs. So we have support groups. There's 12 chapters. There's chapters in many of the counties. And we do social activities like tomorrow. We have our annual kickoff breakfast to start off the school year. There's about 40 people in attendance for that kickoff breakfast tomorrow. And as stated earlier, raising the voices of men and families. We do opportunities through workshops like Telling Your Story with a Purpose that also came out of Seattle Children's, how to advocate, personal advocacy and policy advocacy, and then advocating for equal access to the community. A lot of the work I've been doing, I sit on a couple of different councils or committees. One of them was founded by the Fathers Network and a couple other organizations called the Washington State Interagency Fatherhood Council. So currently with that work right now, the Fatherhood Council and me, among the other members, are doing the state of fatherhood. So for the next 9 months, we're spending each month talking to different agencies and different stakeholders in Washington State about what the needs of fathers are, of fathers with disabilities, without disabilities, with children with children without disabilities, in order to make it a safe place for fathers to be included. So I've had a couple of people talk to me since I've started this job. Well, why is there a fathers network to begin with? And I love this quote: "In every community, there's work to be done. In every nation, there are wounds to heal. In every heart, there's power to do it." And I get a lot of stigma questions around, oh, men don't want to talk. Men don't want to share their feelings. Men don't want support in the way that is being offered. And I think that's the problem right there, is having those outdated thoughts. There are male identifying individuals who want to share their emotions. They have never experienced a safe place to do so. So part of the work I'm doing is ensuring that men and male identifying individuals have the ability to appropriately express themselves in a way that they're able to feel comfortable with. I talked a lot in regards to if the families, if they do not feel, if the fathers don't feel comfortable with who they are as a person, they will never feel comfortable and teach their children to feel comfortable in who they are as well. So the big issue for me, or like the challenges I've been experiencing when people talk, oh, you can't connect with men. No, I certainly can, but people who think that we can't connect is a real issue. Then our specific challenges that I've been facing starting with this for the last 5 months, it's hard to reach some of the fathers in rural parts of the state due to whatever their job timing or communities that don't have as much outreach. So I've been struggling with that. The Fathers Network has been struggling with that since its inception. Communities of color and immigrant communities as well. Trying to make sure that all of my work I'm doing is culturally inclusive, the language is inclusive. So those are the typical challenges that I'm having. And the next slide, I spent the first 3 months of my job wondering what the problems were within the organization. And now it is my time to make something about it. So generally what I'm doing about the challenges, I'm supporting the systems already in place to create new opportunities. And then specifically, and this is the part that I've discussed with Peter, and we've had different talks about how this can be done more, new and updated workshops and training. A lot of my work is providing workshops and training. I do have a background in storytelling. I'm a certified therapeutic game master, a certified problematic gaming specialist, a certified geek specialist, among other titles. So I love to incorporate storytelling into my workshops and make it feel alive to the people that are in my games, in my sessions. So the first thing is our unexpected journey workshop that I will be hopefully revamping in the next couple of months. So these are the ways that I could support other organizations, is by offering a free workshop, which would be the unexpected journey, which is life after diagnosis, and what are the things that you might expect, how might you feel about those things. It's a primer to kind of go, now that there's a diagnosis, what are we able to do about it? And how do we cope with that? And how do we find the supports there? So I'm updating that workshop to also become focused to different diagnoses. So it's not just a generic, here's all the support you might find useful, but here's the support that will be useful for you. Updating the Telling Your Story with a Purpose workshop, which was mentioned earlier. That is how to advocate for yourself personally and in public, arenas. And we'll make sure that Telling Your Story with a Purpose also becomes inclusive. So how to share your story about your culture and why that is important to either the legislative or the personal advocacy at schools. And the third one that fell into a great area of my thinking was training parents how to play with their children. Talking to the staff at Kindering, they've noticed that a lot of families don't have that play that they used to have. Especially due to COVID, children couldn't play outside with other kids. So parents were the ones responsible to play with their children or leave them unattended. And I've been asked, like, how can we help parents learn how to play with their children effectively? And so that is one of my top priorities right now. I'm in the middle of talking with partnerships in order to do that with at-risk youth as well. So parents of at-risk youth can know how to play games with their children and how to have those difficult conversations that they have been able to. And also creating new ways to engage with families is another desire of the Fathers Network. That is hopefully through programming, training how to play video games, or just playing tabletop games with families, and training those families how to play those games together. So at some point I can say, you've got the skills to do this. You want to play with your children and you want to teach them about this social skill, please call me and I will set up how to do that with you and keep those programs going. I also want to create fathers with disability gaming groups, so the fathers feel supported in that because they'll be able to process their emotions through playing games together. And then of course, creating more inclusive programming. I'm looking to partner with other organizations. I just need to be able to run these programs. I don't need to be looking at the funding to create it. I just need to be able to go out and run these programs that I have the curriculum for. So finding more inclusive programming means widening the groups of people I'm interacting with, because I am across the entire Washington state. Anyone in Washington state is under my desire to help. And we're hoping to move past Washington state and go back to nationwide as well. So if there's any organizations that are interested in creating groups like this, interested in telling your story with the purpose workshop, I have my contact information is on the end of these slides, and I would love to create programs and systems and places that you have that you can continue to grow on for the families that you're reaching. Next slide. So, okay, that I figured the conversation at which wasn't going to be so much of length. I did have other presentations that I have given in the past. For this one, I really was interested in seeing how I can make connections with other people in this group, because I do also have reach with other organizations, and I'm on councils with the DOH and Board of Developmental Disabilities, have those conversations that see how I can support other organizations and how what I'm doing can be modeled in other areas. I know Peter is the forefront of doing the work that I'm hoping to also accomplish. And as much as I can support Peter at Behavioral Bridges and other organizations, it's kind of where I'm looking to go with the work I'm doing. So Kindering continues to have the physical therapies, occupational therapies, speech therapies, diagnosis, the ability to diagnose children. And I see the gap after early start, because none of our Kindering programs have anything after age 5. There's a couple that can go to age 10, but after that it stops. And a big passion of mine and a big thing that I continue to say is we don't age out of disabilities, but so many of our programs stop at a certain age. I'm here to create more programs for youth, young adults, and older adults who want these services to happen and haven't been able to do that either because of funding or timing, etc. That is my desire, to move those things forward with the Fathers Network, become more inclusive, and do more opportunities for family engagement as well through the Fathers Network. We do have our annual breakfast that is entirely for the whole family, and we do have our camp out that is for the entire family. So I'm hoping to bridge away from just focusing on the fathers, because you can't just focus on the fathers if you want to reach the entire family.
Do you have any contact information in any of the slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. Great.
Yes. So really kind of outdated on a lot of the technology that's used. So we still have a Facebook, but there's no other social media. We have a newsletter, and that's my work cell and my email address right there, because I'd love to be able to partner with anyone. We run the workshops for free. We just need to be able to have a space to run them, if it's virtual or in person. Speaking of the workshops, I am running a Telling Your Story with a Purpose workshop for the entire Washington State Leadership Initiative. So that'll be happening at the end of September, on September 28th. There's some flyers around from the WSLI that's about that. But those are the programs that I do for other organizations without charge, as long as you have a space for me to run the workshop. So I can do workshops for individual families or large groups. There's not a size preference on that as well.
Well, thank you very much. We got a good shout out to you from Laura saying, great presentation. We're excited to have you in our community. We definitely are. I was just curious, do you know Nelson from Dad's Move?
Yes. Yes. Nelson and he's actually one of those organizations that we're hoping to create father tabletop gaming around.
Oh, cool.
And then kind of hopefully see about making it a father peer-to-peer program afterwards, so fathers can help other fathers to go through that as well through gaming.
Yeah, I love the gaming, the plan that you have there. I think that's wonderful. I know obviously Peter is doing the same or similar things. And so that's wonderful. I love that that could expand in lots of ways to different communities around the state. Looks like we have a question from Malia.
I have two. Um, on the unexpected journey, is there anything in the training about how to strengthen your relationship with your partner if you're still with a partner? Because that a lot of our families be, split during this time. Raising a child with disabilities is tough, and yeah.
That is absolutely something I'm hoping to input into the work that I'm doing. I also have um, accreditation for marriage and family therapy, like marriage and family coursework to be able to do that with families as well. My background is so disjointed that I have a lot of those criteria. Like I can run that. So focusing on the parent relationship is a huge aspect of what I would like to do. So it will be included as an aspect of the journey. Whether it's we're just trying to determine if we want it a one large block of time versus several sessions versus all virtual. So all virtual at your own pace. So that would be a big section that I'm hoping to actually put into the work. That was before going to my degree that I was going to be a marriage and family therapist. So it hits
Or at
the
least
core.
just like in the slide, just say heads up, things are going to change,
Yeah,
and you're going to
absolutely.
have arguments, and life's going to be tough. Just expect it. um, and then, oh, ADHD lost my thought. But can I ask the second question?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I believe there used to be like a monthly support group with regularly scheduled things that people could drop in from all around the state. And is that going to happen soon?
We've been discussing starting that one up again. We do have meetings that are virtual for some counties. Like Kitsap County has a group that meets with a couple other counties, Mason County, Thurston,
Oh,
and a
SS,
couple more.
yeah, South Sound parent to parent you're talking
Yes,
about? Yeah.
yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
We've been talking about bringing back the virtual statewide one, and we are hoping to actually get that back and running by November when we have our annual conference. So to get
Okay.
people back interested in that when it's the conference for people around Washington State, and then bringing that back in.
I mean, I understand sometimes you have these and nobody shows up. So it's hard to market. Those were it. Thank
Oh,
you.
thanks, Malia. Peter?
So kind of my question is, do you want to focus more along uh getting the dads to game together, or the dads to game with community kids and have that as an angle? So for example, like, do you want to kind of teach dads how to be really good GMs so they can run games and get together like social groups where they can connect with other parents and be like, hey, I'm a dad who's a GM. Y'all should come to the library and I'll run some games with you. Or do you want dads to play RPGs together and just get, a couple hours of time away from the house where they can just relax, network with other dads? Is that more the angle?
So it would be a little of both, actually. So some organizations I want to work with, I want to train dads to play games together to be able to then run those for other families. And the groups I'm hoping to work with right now and just starting collaboration with an at-risk youth program, getting those dads to be able to play games for those children in that program so they have a safe place to go. And I'm also yes, RPG's role-playing game. I'm
Sorry.
also hoping to be able to create those environments for families. Like if I'm playing, I would love to just work with an individual families as well. So if I'm spending 2 hours once a week with a family of four, and so they know how to play a game together, and I only reach one family of four that week, then I've reached a family of four, and I did my job. So all aspects, it just depends on what the partnerships look with other organizations. The other idea was also to create game nights for different organizations. So if they throw a game night, I can come, I can show them what it is like to have therapeutic gaming at it. And if they're interested in doing it more often, be able to do that as well.
Sounds great. My question is, have you had any interaction, anybody from the military community reaching out to your network for military dads? I'm just curious.
Not yet, no. A lot
Okay.
of the timing I'm in with getting like new families in, a lot of it is either recommendations for families who are about to go through a divorce. That's a high stigma of what the Fathers Network is. Nelson at Dad's Move also has that kind of same situation where it's a lot of the families, either it's a single father or a father going through a divorce. So I have not reached out to many military families as of yet. Although that'll be a little bit easier. My keynote speaker for the annual conference is a veteran. So we're kind of bridging that gap right there and having that kind of talk about what it's like to have children with disabilities and also be a veteran.
Yeah, we have, and Don is kind of my partner on this group around this, because he's a systems navigator for what's called exceptional family member program. So when you have any sort of medical need or any developmental or mental health need, you in the military have to register in that program so that they will assign you to bases that have the right level of support. And our base here in Tacoma is a commonly base where families will come when they have, in particular, kids with autism. And so there would be a population of military families with children with disabilities that would benefit from, additional parent supports. And we try to, send them to the local parent to parents and things, but it's nice to have the father option. I don't know, Dawn, if you have any other thoughts about that. And obviously the military has its own systems of support too. They have like family advocacy. They have different groups that try to support military families. So, the best way to kind of get you connected might be to talk to some of those groups at the base when you're ready, when you want to make that connection.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Patty. And you're absolutely right. I'd be happy to be the connector. Because I could see the advantage of connecting with any EFM qualified families that are military, and also connecting them with FAP, which is our family advocacy program, and our new parent support program, and possibly even the I can't even think of the name they use now, but it's when the couple's going through a divorce, because you may have a single dad that's going to need some help.
Yeah.
I know I've got a single dad with 3 boys in my client load, and I tell you, he's got his hair's on fire because 2 of them are ASD kids. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. Again, I have only worked with the military. I worked with them before, and then I was away for the last 8 years at the Autism Center at University of Washington. But since coming back, I haven't necessarily seen a lot of father-specific supports. So, it would be really great to be able to network with you more.
Yeah, I would welcome that. Yeah, I would welcome that. To reach out and have a cup of coffee or talk on the phone or whatever, Matthew. Please, I would welcome that.
And we
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say there's a lot of military people that like role playing games and games. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in South Hill,
Oh.
so I'm very close to Tacoma in that area too. So the more I can work in Pierce County versus the other counties, I'd be happy to. Then I don't have to do as much travel. And I'm also available to do anything virtually too. And I've run most of my games virtually. So working with military families is something that have been considering, but hadn't found a way to step into that area just yet.
Okay,
So
great.
a connection I might want to recommend for both of you is David from the Alexandria RPG Library. he he runs this convention, old school role playing game library that goes to gaming cons, and they have volunteer dungeon masters running the games. But he also is he's military. He is, I think he's been in the military for like 20 years. He's a trainer, and he runs veteran groups, and he has a lot of insight on kind of running games with those communities, because they tend to be a bit different in what they
Sure.
prefer. They you know, I've talked with him about, working with veterans, and he's described the games, and they're a lot more combat heavy and very much into that whole aspect. And
Okay.
so talking with him would probably be a really, really good resource.
Yeah, can you send us offline his contact?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
figure out his info.
Any other questions for Matthew? Well, we really appreciate you coming and sharing the information. Like I said, we'll be able to have this on the website so people that didn't come can learn more about it and how to reach you. I'm glad they found you. I know Louis retired, and it's nice to have someone like yourself stepping in, and you have some pretty exciting creative directions to take things. So if there's a way we can help support you, we have different members that come at different times. So if you're ever looking to make connections with different types of agencies or people in the community, you can always hit us up and see if we know somebody.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that. And if there's any resources that I can help you possibly navigate, with fathers, since I am part of the state of fatherhood survey group, that we can maybe make some more connections that way too as well.
That's great. And we can keep you on our email list so that you see who's coming each month. It's a drop-in meeting. You're welcome to come anytime. It's not something that if you don't come regularly, we won't let you in or anything. It's the more the merrier. So. Okay, sir, I think we can stop recording and we can move into,